The sun was just beginning to rise when Adrian Carter, the billionaire businessman everyone admired, made a decision that would change his life forever. He had returned home earlier than expected from a week-long business trip overseas, eager to surprise his family. What Adrian didn't know was that the greatest surprise would be waiting for him on his own front porch, not in the form of love and warmth, but betrayal so chilling it threatened to shatter his heart. As his sleek black car rolled up the long driveway, he carried a smile, imagining the look on his fiancée's face when she saw him. But before he reached the door, a cruel sound made him stop. It was laughter, sharp and mocking, and it belonged to the very woman he was planning to marry. Adrian slowed his steps, moving carefully so he wouldn't be seen. His eyes fell on a scene that froze his breath in his chest. Standing on the balcony above, his fiancée, Cassandra, held a bucket of murky, dirty water in her hands. His mother, a frail woman with silver hair, and his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, were standing beneath, smiling up innocently as if waiting for Cassandra to greet them. Without hesitation or remorse, Cassandra tipped the bucket and poured the filthy water over them. His mother gasped as the cold liquid drenched her clothes, and little Lily burst into tears, confused and terrified. Cassandra's cruel laugh echoed as she called them names, insults so vile Adrian couldn't believe his ears. Rage and disbelief battled inside Adrian as he stood in the shadows, gripping his fists so tightly his knuckles turned white. Every memory of Cassandra's sweet words, her gentle smile, and her promises of love came crashing down in a single moment. He realized he had been blinded by charm and beauty, never seeing the venom hiding beneath her polished exterior. But before storming in, Adrian took a deep breath, forcing himself to remain calm. He wanted to see more, to know if this was just a fleeting moment of cruelty or if Cassandra's heart was truly this dark. And what he saw next left no doubt in his mind. Cassandra sneered down at his mother and daughter, telling them they didn't belong in the mansion, mocking Lily for not being good enough to be the daughter of a billionaire. Dirty blood, she spat, as though the little girl were nothing. His mother tried to stay composed, telling Cassandra that kindness was the true measure of wealth, but her words were drowned by Cassandra's cruel laughter. Lily clung to her grandmother, crying harder, and Adrian's chest burned with a pain so deep it felt like betrayal was slicing him open. In that moment, he realized his silence had gone on long enough. Adrian stepped forward, his voice thundering across the courtyard, sharper than Cassandra had ever heard. "Enough," he roared, and Cassandra froze in place, the color draining from her face as she saw him standing there. His mother's eyes widened in relief, and Lily ran to him, throwing her tiny arms around his legs. Adrian lifted his daughter into his arms, shielding her trembling body, before helping his mother inside. Cassandra stammered, trying to laugh it off as a joke, but Adrian's icy stare cut her words short. The mask she wore for so long had fallen, and there was no hiding what he had witnessed. Inside the grand hall, Adrian sat his daughter down gently and wrapped a blanket around his mother's shoulders. He looked into Cassandra's eyes, the same eyes he once thought carried love, and asked, "Is this who you truly are? The woman I trusted with my heart, my future, my family?" Cassandra's lips curled into a defiant smirk, and she shrugged. "Why not? Your mother is old and useless, and that brat isn't mine to love. I deserve better than to share a roof with them." Her words stabbed like daggers, and the silence that followed was suffocating. Adrian knew then that this wasn't a slip of cruelty, it was the truth of her soul. Adrian rose to his full height, his presence commanding the entire room. "You talk of deserving better," he said, his voice calm but lethal, "yet you forget that real wealth isn't in money or mansions, it's in the heart. My mother gave me everything when I had nothing, and my daughter is the very breath that keeps me alive. If you cannot respect them, you don't deserve to be part of my life." Cassandra's smirk faltered, replaced by desperation as she realized her grip on Adrian's empire was slipping. She reached out to him, her voice suddenly sweet, begging for forgiveness. But Adrian's eyes held no mercy. He led Cassandra to the door, his grip firm as she tried to resist. "Leave," he commanded, his tone final. "You'll take nothing from this house except the mask you wore. I'd rather be alone forever than chained to a woman who disrespects the only people who matter." Cassandra's tears were not of regret but of rage, for she knew she had lost the golden life she thought was secured. She screamed threats as she stormed away, her voice echoing down the driveway, but Adrian did not turn back. His mother and daughter were watching, and he wanted them to know that no cruelty would ever triumph under his roof again. That night, as the house fell into quiet, Adrian sat with his mother and Lily in the living room. His mother took his hand, her wrinkled fingers trembling, and whispered, "You did the right thing, my son. A woman who cannot love a child and respect her elders will never bring peace into your home." Adrian nodded, holding back the tears that had threatened all day. For so long, he had been searching for companionship, for someone to share his empire with, but he now realized that the truest treasures were already beside him, the mother who raised him and the daughter who adored him. In the days that followed, news of the broken engagement spread like wildfire through social circles. Many whispered, some judged, but Adrian stood tall, never revealing the full truth. He didn't need to defend himself, he had protected the ones who mattered most. Cassandra tried to spin stories, painting herself as the victim, but the world eventually saw through her. Adrian, on the other hand, grew even more respected, not just as a billionaire, but as a man who valued honor over wealth and family over reputation. Life slowly returned to peace. Adrian spent more time with Lily, taking her to school, reading bedtime stories, and reminding her that she was cherished. He accompanied his mother on long walks in the garden, listening to her wisdom and letting her laughter heal the wounds Cassandra left behind. The house that once felt cold and heavy with pretense now bloomed with warmth and love. For the first time in years, Adrian didn't feel the emptiness of wealth, he felt the fullness of family. One evening, as the golden sunset bathed the mansion in light, Lily climbed onto Adrian's lap and asked innocently, "Daddy, will you ever find someone who loves us all?" Adrian smiled softly, kissing her forehead. "One day, maybe, but until then, I already have the best love anyone could ask for, you and Grandma." His mother, sitting nearby, wiped a tear from her eye, grateful that her son had chosen wisdom over deception. Adrian's story became more than just his own, it became a lesson whispered through his empire and beyond. He showed that wealth without compassion is empty, that success without family is hollow, and that true strength lies in standing up for those who cannot fight for themselves. His betrayal had turned into clarity, and his heartbreak into an unshakable bond with those who mattered most. Years later, when people spoke of Adrian Carter, they didn't only call him a billionaire. They spoke of his integrity, his devotion to his family, and his courage to choose love over luxury. And for Adrian, that legacy was worth more than all the money in the world. Because at the end of it all, it wasn't his empire that defined him, it was the way he protected his mother and daughter, proving that a man's true riches are not in the life he builds for himself, but in the love he safeguards for others. And though Cassandra vanished into the shadows of her own bitterness, Adrian's home remained filled with light. The laughter of his daughter, the wisdom of his mother, and the peace in his heart became the truest symbols of a fortune that could never be stolen or destroyed. Adrian's journey began with betrayal but ended with redemption, reminding us all that sometimes, the most painful revelations lead us to the greatest truths. And for him, the truth was simple yet eternal: love is the only wealth that never fades. Even in a world of skyscrapers and endless riches, Adrian Carter understood what truly mattered. And because of that, his story became an inspiration, not just to those around him, but to anyone who ever mistook glitter for gold, and cruelty for love. In the quiet of the night, as Adrian tucked Lily into bed and kissed her goodnight, he whispered a promise to her and to himself: "As long as I live, you will never feel unloved, unwanted, or unprotected." And with those words, he closed the chapter of betrayal and opened one of healing, strength, and everlasting love. It was a reminder that even the richest man in the world could be brought to his knees by betrayal, but the same man could also rise stronger, because in the end, the richest treasures are not found in banks or boardrooms, but in the hearts of those who love us unconditionally.